At night, a sleeping human looks completely vulnerable. No sprint, no warning, no fight. Yet a lion, bear, wolf, or big cat may pass within reach and keep moving. This thumbnail is the key. Vulnerable does not automatically mean prey. The reason is not kindness, and it is not proof that sleep makes anyone safe. A predator must notice an opportunity, recognize a target, price the risk of testing it, and survive that decision. Then our own evidence adds a final trap. We record attacks, not the quiet times when nothing happened. Predator does not choose between attack and mercy. It moves through a chain of filters. First, predator and person must overlap in the same place and time. Second, the animal must detect enough information to classify what is there. Third, the target must fit a workable prey pattern instead of merely looking exposed. Fourth, the expected return must outweigh injury, interruption, retaliation, and uncertainty. Fail any filter, and the observable result is simply an animal leaving. Pass every filter, and the outcome can be catastrophic. But this chain is not a transcript of an animal's thoughts, and it explains why vulnerability can matter without deciding the outcome by itself. Predators travel through ranges shaped by prey, cover, water, roads, people, and previous disturbance. Or the animal may cross nearby without receiving a clear scent, sound, or visual cue. Human disturbance also shifts animal schedules. Global meta-analysis of 76 studies and 62 mammal species found wildlife became 1.36 times more nocturnal on average under human disturbance. That pattern can reduce contact with active people during the day. It can also place more animal movement inside the hours when people are sleeping. Nocturnal does not mean hunting humans. It only changes when an encounter might become possible. Attack datasets likewise show that time, activity, party size, species, and local ecology interact. So before asking why a predator walked past, we have to admit that detection itself may be uncertain. Being edible is not the same as belonging to a predator's normal menu, and lions do not attack every animal they could overpower. Analysis of 32 studies across 48 places or time periods found structured lion preferences for particular prey and body sizes. Ability mattered, but morphology, vigilance, grouping, density, and escape behavior mattered too. A sleeping person may present an unfamiliar outline, shelter, fabric, smoke, or human scent instead of the cue bundle associated with practiced prey. Novelty can produce hesitation, while experience can make human cues predict danger. Food-conditioned animal can learn the opposite and associate camps with reward. Researchers also classify some canid incidents as investigative attacks, where an animal appears to test a person as possible prey. It is a decision gate that can produce avoidance, inspection, defensive contact, or predatory pursuit. The important correction is that predators select. They do not automatically convert every vulnerable body into prey. The strongest direct evidence for avoidance comes from experiments where humans are heard, not seen. At puma feeding sites, researchers compared recordings of human speech with frog calls. They completed 29 trials on 17 wild pumas. On first exposure, 83% fled from human voices. Only 6% fled from the frog control. Human speech also delayed return and cut total feeding time by more than half. A broader experiment placed automated cameras and speakers at waterholes in South Africa. Across 4,238 trials, 19 mammal species heard humans, lions, hunting sounds, or birds. Life was twice as likely to run from human voices as from lions. Animals also left the waterholes 40% faster. Leopards and hyenas were among the species with significant stronger responses to humans. These experiments show that a human cue can carry serious perceived cost. They do not show what the same animals would do around a silent sleeping person. Predation is not free energy. A mistimed attack can break a tooth, damage an eye, injure a limb, or attract competitors. For a wild carnivore, an injury that reduces hunting can turn one bad decision into weeks of lost food. Humans add unusual uncertainty because one body can imply hidden companions, dogs, noise, vehicles, or later pursuit. A learned association between human cues and trouble can be enough. Those cats gave up feeding time when the perceived human cost rose. Optimal diet models capture part of this logic by comparing return and handling cost. But a review of 134 tests found those models often failed for predators attacking mobile prey. Learning, hunger, experience, social hunting, and local conditions keep the calculation messy. The safe conclusion is not that humans are always too dangerous to attack. It is that uncertainty can make walking away the profitable decision. Now the word predator starts causing trouble. A bear surprised near cubs is not making the same decision as a lion hunting for food. A wolf conditioned to human food is not behaving like a wolf avoiding a road. The worldwide brown bear study compiled 664 attacks from 2000 through 2015. Most of those attacks occurred during daylight. The most common scenario involved a female with cubs. Larger global database compiled 5,440 reported attacks by 12 large carnivore species. Its scenarios changed sharply with species, region, prey availability, human activity, and food conditioning. Predatory attacks were especially associated with particular felids and canids in particular places. Bear attacks were more often linked to surprise, cub defense, carcasses, or human food. Even within one species, individual history can flip the response. That variation is why one explanation for sleeping humans cannot cover lions, tigers, wolves, cougars, and bears. The title says some predators because anything broader would outrun the evidence. Sleep changes the cue package on both sides. Sleeper stops walking, speaking, staring, and deliberately facing an animal. That can remove some active human signals that triggered the playback experiments. It also removes awareness and reaction time. Shelter changes the outline but does not erase scent, while food, rubbish, toiletries, cooking residue, and pets can add stronger attractants. Human sleep is often social rather than perfectly synchronized. In one Hadza camp observed across 20 nights, everyone was simultaneously scored asleep for only 18 minutes. At least one person was awake or lightly sleeping during 99.8% of sampled epochs. Actigraphy did not prove deliberate guarding or prevented predator attacks. One camp also cannot stand in for all human history. Air, smoke, shelter, tools, and group noise may change an animal's information, but direct protective effects are not universal. Official guidance still prioritizes attracting control and current local rules over stories about fire or tents. Sleep can change the encounter without ever becoming armor. Real attacks are the reason this episode must stay narrow. Tanzanian records documented more than 560 deaths and more than 300 injuries from lions. More than 27% of attacks occurred in fields, often when people slept alone in makeshift crop huts. The global database likewise found that known predatory attacks occurred mostly at night. Those cases are uncommon in many regions, but uncommon is not impossible. National Park Service guidance says a bear attacking a tent or stalking a person may be acting predatorily. It also makes clear that responses depend on species and scenario. There is only current local guidance, prevention, and a refusal to confuse a non-attack story with protection. Predator walking past once tells us what happened once. It does not promise the next animal will make the same decision. Attack databases are built from injuries and deaths. They cannot count every time a predator detected a person and quietly left. Anecdotes about safe nights have the opposite filter. The person is available to tell the story because nothing happened. Calling this only survivorship bias misses half the problem. It is a missing exposure denominator problem on both sides. We do not know how many close encounters occurred, how many animals noticed the sleeper, or how many never entered the area. So no honest source can give the percentage of predators that walk past sleeping humans. The public model video's 2 million views prove demand for the question, not wildlife evidence. Our title asks why a non-attack can happen, not how often it happens. That smaller question has a defensible answer. Here's what this evidence does not prove. It does not prove that sleep protects a person. It does not prove that fire, tents, or human scent reliably repel predators. It does not prove that every carnivore recognizes humans in the same way. It does not prove that fear of a speaking human equals fear of a silent sleeper. It does not turn prey preference into a guarantee about one hungry or conditioned animal. It does not identify one response that is safe for every species or encounter. And it does not invite anyone to test the idea around wildlife. Use current local agency guidance, store attractants correctly, and treat wild predators as capable of changing the outcome. The mechanism is an explanation for some non-attacks, not a safety protocol. So why can a predator walk past a sleeping human? Sometimes the encounter never clears the first gate because detection is weak or incomplete. Sometimes a human does not match the animal's practiced prey pattern. Sometimes human cues predict enough danger that even food already in a puma's mouth becomes less valuable. And sometimes species, hunger, conditioning, isolation, or local ecology push every gate the other way. Sleep removes active signals, but it also removes warning and response. Groups, shelter, and camps change the information without creating a force field. Attack records show the terrible exceptions. Playback experiments show how powerful human risk cues can be. Prey studies show that predators select rather than attack every possible target. The missing denominator stops us from pretending we know the frequency. Vulnerable is one variable, not a verdict. Subscribe to Oddly Evident for more familiar stories rebuilt from what the evidence can actually support.